Hello everybody, good morning. I hope you're doing well. This is just a quick video on AeroVironment, which has quietly become one of the most critical suppliers in modern warfare. After a 300% rally from the 2022 lows, or even 223% rally since dip in April, I also purchased the stock around $240 or so. So guys, I've already done my analysis on whether I should be taking profits or whether I should be doubling down as this price starts to retreat. Thought I'd make this video to go along with that. AeroVironment specializes in unmanned aircraft systems and loitering munitions. The Switchblade drones, you've probably seen footage of them in Ukraine. These systems are cheap, lethal, and scalable, which is exactly why the US Department of Defense is ramping up spending on them. Last quarter earnings down 10% year on year, but loitering munitions were up 46%. And a funding backlog hit a record of $763 million. The company also acquired BlueHalo, which is expanding its footprint into counter UAS and directed energy. So let's look at some of the key platforms driving the growth here. Under autonomous systems, the Jump 20X and the Puma A are frontline ISR drones used by NATO forces. In loitering munition systems, the Switchblade 600 is the flagship here. Basically a kamikaze drone capable of taking out armored targets with real-time guidance. You'll know that a few years ago they sent a lot of the Switchblade 300s to Ukraine. However, actually it proved more effective just to strap grenades onto commercial drones and much more cost effective. These are about 60 to 80,000 US dollars, whereas these are slightly larger and so they can take out actual larger targets like tanks and stuff like that. Like I said as well, they've also just acquired BlueHalo, and so they now offer the Titan C and the Locust, which are the kind of drone defense or the emerging edge in drone defense. Now let's talk over numbers. AVAV currently trades at over 130 times forward earnings and nearly 200x EV to EBITDA. That puts it basically in nosebleed territory, not just compared to the mega cap defense names, but also the high growth names like Kratos. I think it's pretty safe to say here that the bottom line is that AeroVironment's valuation is pricing in flawless execution and sustained defense tailwinds. So any shortfalls in executional contracts could hit this stock pretty hard. So where do we go from here? The company is actually near long-term resistance at around $400 to $420. It's also hovering just above that key trend support line at 350. For long-term holders, that $400 to $420 mark is actually looking like a pretty reasonable price to trim or hedge. I know that some people would look for it to come back down to this support to maybe add to their position or even come in, but a deeper pullback down to the 260 level, if we get it, would be super attractive. I think it's also really interesting to see what the analysts at the major banks are saying. Many of these price targets have been reiterated with upside, but the majority of them, to be honest, average price target is actually only up 6%. But some of these targets are pretty high, like 450, 490. Analysts, they're relatively conservative in their opinions on stock prices. They don't really usually go out on a whim, but it's still interesting to look at and consider what they're saying. So what's interesting to see here is, well, the question I'm also asking is, what will drive the next leg up? Watch for integration of BlueHalo, growth in the Switchblade lines, or the Defensive Department's Replicator initiative, push to mass produce thousands of autonomous systems. It's also important to pay attention to the 2026 guidance. Anyway, just to summarize, guys, AeroVironment is a pure play on the future of warfare, but at the moment, it's expensive. The market is giving its full credit on that. Whether it can deliver, that's what really makes this one to stock and to trade very carefully. If you're holding, you know my exit zones. If you're watching, be patient for any pullbacks. Either way, I don't think this stock is a hype story. It's a real defense asset. At the moment, price slightly high, but it's really worth putting on the watch list for any pullbacks. Thank you so much for watching, and please do subscribe. I promise to bring you some interesting content in the future.